To this day, many anime fans credit Death Note as a formative and foundational title that kickstarted their journey into the world of anime, manga, and adjacent Japanese media. Their personal gateway drug, as it were, into the sprawling and diverse medium. And really, who could blame them, as the series combined a gripping, supernatural, edge-of-your-seat detective crime thriller with a roster of complex and engaging main characters, all with an abundance of societal and sociological commentary about morality, power, and corruption, while simultaneously taking full advantage of the flair and panache that the medium of animation offered to elevate its more stylistically static and talking-heady source material. In short, it's really as flawless a recipe for a gateway series as one could hope for. Now, pivoting over to the realm of visual novels and adventure games, comparatively fewer connoisseurs are aware of what I would describe as the medium's counterpart to Death Note, a title by the name of Senjou no Maou, a heart-racing psychological thriller featuring, at its core, a battle of wits between towering intellectual juggernauts, steeped in intrigue, bombast, and bloodshed, that makes for an equivalently stellar jumping-off point into this niche medium. Senjou no Maou, which translates to The Devil on G-String, a classical music reference to Johann Sebastian Bach's Air on the G-String, is a work commonly credited to its scenario writer, known by the moniker Looseboy, whose introduction to the scene came via his contributions to various doujin circles, as is very much par for the course for the medium's many artists and authors. Looseboy would go on to join studio Akabesoft in the early 2000s, his debut scenario work being the acclaimed Sharin no Kuni Himawari no Shoujo in 2005, a title featuring a refreshingly and painstakingly mature take on societal themes such as social stratification and rehabilitation, making for a deeply thought-provoking, emotionally resonant, and thoroughly memorable character study. An ardent fan of mysteries, Looseboy left his indelible mark by infusing the story with whiplash-inducing twists aplenty, to the point where it was a foregone conclusion that his next opus would trade romance and drama for some old-fashioned detective fiction goodness. Enter Senjou no Maou, which released in 2008 to similarly high praise, taking home the grand prize at that year's Bishoujo Game Awards. Of note is that the success of the game led Looseboy to pen what can be seen as a more contemporary spiritual successor to Senjou, a manga more tightly focused on psychological warfare titled Muno Nanana, or Talentless Nana, which anime fans may be more aware of, as it had gone on to receive an adaptation in late 2020. Senjou no Maou follows the story of Kyosuke Azai, sharp and eccentric, if morbidly so, high school student by day, and secret syndicate comptroller by night, responsible for handling the finances of a ruthless mob boss's empire, said mob boss being his adoptive father. Though up to his neck in the Yakuza underworld, Kyosuke manages to keep himself, for the most part, out of any serious trouble, thanks largely to the more pencil-pushing nature of his unusual moonlighting gig. That is, until one day when a mysterious, disheveled wreck of a girl named Haru Usami transfers into his class, honing in on the matters of his double life with suspiciously keen interest. Far more worrying, however, is that Haru's sudden appearance is accompanied by the arrival of a nefarious international terrorist and ringleader, known in the criminal underworld as Maou, who for some unknown reason has his murderous sights laser-locked on this mysterious girl. "Come, lovely child, oh come thou with me, for many a game I will play there with thee," declares Maou, whose name translates to the devil, in other words, the embodiment of evil itself. And thus begins a lengthy and deadly game of cat and mouse between Kyosuke and Maou, as Kyosuke struggles to stay one step ahead of Mao's fiendish master plan, which begins by ensnaring and endangering the lives of everyone around Kyosuke one by one, and rapidly evolves into threatening to reduce the entire city around him to cinders in a hellish blaze of destruction. As should be apparent by now, Senjou no Maou can be almost singularly defined by the high-stakes, back-and-forth battle of wits that sits at its very core, hence why I refer to it as the Death Note of visual novels. The introductory scenario can be a little slow, as is par for the course in the world of VNs, but once you arrive at the pre-title sequence, which is one of the most hair-raising and intense sequences ever put to ADV dialogue box, what follows is an absolutely labyrinthine race against the clock, as the lives of everyone Kyosuke knows and cares about hang in the balance of Mao's game of life and death. From what appears to be an ordinary kidnapping case that turns out to be much more than meets the eye, to a bomb scare that threatens a stadium full of innocents, Kyosuke and his partner in survival, the mysterious Haru Usami, must solve a series of increasingly baffling mind games while trying to uncover the truth behind Mao's fiendish hidden agenda, as his many serial acts of petty terrorism are clearly no more than a facade, merely cogs in a larger-than-life Rube Goldberg contraption that is deftly puppeteering everyone around him towards a poetic collective demise. By now you've probably figured out that the psychological trickery featured in Senjou no Maou is nothing short of sublime. Each story arc a goldmine of brilliant tactics, chicanery, and cliffhangers that will keep even the most battle-weary detective fiction sleuth scratching their head at how the next trip round the chessboard will unfold. The fact that the reader is treated to the events of the story from both the perspective of the hero and the villain, switching between Kyosuke's viewpoint and Mao's like clockwork, ratchets the tension exponentially, ensuring there's never a quiet moment, once again evoking the frenetic tug-of-war vibe that made Death Note a household name in the world of How Ketchums. As the reader, you get to see how the nimbly crafted details of each side's scheming, counter-scheming, and counter-counter-scheming take shape and play out. The masterful craftsmanship behind the design of Mao's maddening riddles, and each step of the process by which Kyosuke and Haru piece things together at the very last second, dodging what would have been the killing blow by mere inches. It's mental bullet chess at its purest and most unadulterated, a wellspring of deceptions upon feints that feed into larger scope gambits, with both sides getting twisted up in the spiral of I know that I know, all to stay ahead of the other, even by just a hair's width. And adding to Senjou's gripping nature is the incredible dynamic between this deadly game's three key players. Haru's shrewd intellect and icy rage paired with Kyosuke's intuition, instinct, and cavalier confidence forms perhaps the only phalanx that stands a chance at outwitting the seeming omnipotence of the devil himself. And the characters definitely don't sit idly in the growth department either. Thematically, this is a tale of justice, redemption, and revenge, as you explore Haru's struggle to come to terms with her all-consuming desire for vengeance, alongside Kyosuke's evolution from freewheeling playboy into someone who actively seeks to unearth and confront the dark secrets of his family's past. Finally, as hinted in its title, music is a dominant motif of Senjou, playing a key role in the narrative, but more so acting as an effective and evocative backdrop to the chaos and cacophony of this blood-soaked thrill ride. The soundtrack is filled with beautiful modern renditions of the greatest work of classical composers, from Chopin to Mozart, and Bach to Debussy, meaning the game is an instant must-play for fans of the genre. Satie's Gymnopédie can be heard as the tranquil around town theme for the calm slice-of-life interludes, while Tchaikovsky's jaunty Nutcracker accompanies the lighthearted school club meetings, and Bach's Little Fugue in G minor punctuates moments of tense contemplation. A thunderous version of Schubert's already sinister and chilling Der Erlkönig backs Mao's deadly machinations. And an electrifying take on Beethoven's Für Elise signals that both sides, their backs firmly against the wall, are ready to reveal the final ace up their sleeves, all the pieces of the puzzle now slotted into their proper arrangement. As for if there are any downsides, they can mostly be chalked up to how sparsely characterized the supporting cast are. While certainly adequate, they are not nearly as fleshed out compared to the central three characters, making their individual character outs more or less completely skippable, thus relegating the romance aspect of this eroge to little more than a sideshow. Additionally, your mileage may vary in terms of how much you buy one of the game's major reveals in the back half of the story. Without wishing to spoil anything, it's a reveal that has been received extremely divisively, due to the fact that it more or less flips most of the narrative completely on its head. That said, even if you do find this particular turn of events a bit too far out of left field to swallow, the remainder of the story rapidly and effectively crescendos, culminating in one of the most grandiose, explosive, and rewarding grand finales ever, matched only by an equally unforgettable and satisfying epilogue. For the uninitiated who now feel compelled to take the plunge, especially those who are tepid newcomers to the medium of visual novels, this is definitely a great place to start. Senjou no Maou is readily available for download, most universally through Steam, having been licensed by Sakai Project. It's been said that the devil's voice is sweet to hear, but when it comes to the devil of this story, that is, the devil on G-string, you'll find that it's actually the melodies he composes, equal parts lovely and twisted, equal parts intimidating and captivating, that are truly what draws his victims into the deepest, darkest pits of hell.